Picture a hot summer in England, the lawns are neatly trimmed, the house is huge, and the only thing more complicated than the social class structure in this place is, well, Briony Tallis's imagination. And let me warn you now, if you have a younger sibling who loves to meddle after this story, you might start locking your doors and keeping them far away from your love letters. Today, I'm diving into a book that's equal parts heartbreaking, romantic, and frustrating in the best way possible. It's a book that dares to ask, what happens when a 13-year-old with an overactive imagination decides she knows better than everyone else? The answer? Absolute disaster. The book is none other than Atonement by McEwan. But before we get to the title reveal, let me take you through the story, because trust me, you want to hear this one. We start before the war at the Tallis family estate, where class divides are sharp enough to cut steel and misunderstandings can ruin lives. Here, we meet three central figures, Cecilia Tallis, her younger sister Briony, and Robbie Turner, the housekeeper's son who also happens to be the most educated man on the property, thanks to Jack Tallis, the absentee father, who decided to pay for Robbie's education. Robbie is smart, too smart in fact. He performs better than Cecilia at Cambridge, which, let's just say, doesn't sit well with their mother, Emily Tallis. Because God forbid the servant's son outshines the lady of the house. But Robbie is well aware of his place in this little social pyramid. He knows he isn't a fairy tale prince who's going to get the girl. Unfortunately for him, the girl is Cecilia. And she's not just any girl. She's fiery, privileged, and utterly confused by Robbie's respectful distance. He treats her like royalty. Not because he worships her, but because he knows exactly where he stands. And this makes Cecilia furious. She can't stand the fact that he's holding himself back.
You just have to grow a pair and do it.
Then comes that moment. You know the one, when life throws you a situation so ridiculous it could only end in disaster. In this case, it's a broken vase. Robbie and Cecilia find themselves at a fountain with this precious family heirloom. There's a bit of a struggle. No one's quite sure why, but the vase ends up broken, and Cecilia, furious and defiant, strips down to her underwear and dives into the fountain to retrieve it. Enter Briony Tallis, 13 years old, hyperactive, and convinced she's the main character in everyone's story. Briony witnesses this scene from a distance and immediately concludes that Robbie must have commanded her sister to strip, like some villain from a cheap romance novel. Never mind that she's too far away to hear anything. Briony's imagination has already written the entire scandalous script in her mind.
You're dead, honey.
Things spiral from bad to worse when Robbie tries to apologize to Cecilia with a letter. But oh no, he doesn't send just any letter. He accidentally writes a draft filled with, let's say, a very unfiltered expression of his feelings, complete with one word that would have gotten him arrested if shouted in public back in the day. In a tragic mix-up, who delivers this X-rated confession? None other than Briony. Of course, she reads it first, because why wouldn't she? And now, in her mind, Robbie isn't just a pervert, he's the villain of her story. But wait, there's more. Later that evening, Briony happens to stumble into the library at just the wrong moment and catches Cecilia and Robbie in an intimate, passionate embrace. Instead of recognizing it as a moment of love between two adults, Briony's imagination spins it into something darker and forbidden. By now, she's fully convinced that Robbie is dangerous. And when you combine a manipulative child with a lack of supervision, well, you're asking for trouble. Now let's talk about the cousins, Lola and the twins. They're staying at the Tallis estate because their parents are in the middle of a messy separation. One night, the twins run away, and during the frantic search, Briony stumbles upon Lola, who claims she's been assaulted. And who does Briony instantly accuse? Robbie Turner. Of course. She's seen just enough evidence, or what she thinks is evidence, to decide that he's guilty. And worse still, Briony's word, this naive, overconfident child's word, is enough to ruin Robbie's life. What happens next is a quiet, devastating implosion of the Tallis family. Cecilia is furious at her sister and cuts ties with her entire family in defense of Robbie. Briony, however, doesn't fully grasp the magnitude of what she's done. Not yet. She grows older, but the guilt doesn't leave her. She lives through her own version of penance, trying to find redemption. The second part of the book shifts focus to Robbie. He's no longer the bright, hopeful young man with dreams of becoming a doctor. Instead, he's been sent to war, a place where bombs drop from the sky, survival is uncertain, and the promise of seeing Cecilia again is the only thing keeping him going. The descriptions here are vivid and haunting. McEwan doesn't just write war, he makes you feel it. Robbie's suffering feels so real that you start to despise Briony all over again for what she's done to him. But despite it all, Robbie clings to hope. He hates Briony, but he also encourages Cecilia to find some kind of peace with her family.
I bring you peace.
And here's where the story gets, well, meta. Because Atonement isn't just a story about love, betrayal, and forgiveness. It's also a book about writing. Briony, as she grows older, channels her guilt into storytelling. McEwan uses her passion for writing to explore what it really means to tell a story, the power of narrative, the consequences of perspective, and how stories can both heal and destroy. Briony's writing becomes a form of therapy, but it's also her way of trying to make things right, though whether she succeeds is another matter entirely. The beauty of this book is that we're never really sure what actually happened. Did Briony see the truth, or just her version of it? Did her atonement come too late? McEwan keeps us guessing, right up to the end. So after all this heartbreak and chaos, what did I think of the book? I loved it. Ian McEwan has a gift for stretching out scenes, building tension so slowly and precisely that you can't help but get sucked in. He gives you just enough detail to keep you hungry for more, but never so much that it feels overwhelming. The characters feel real, painfully real. Robbie isn't just a character on a page, he's someone you root for, someone you feel. And Briony? Oh, Briony. I have rarely wanted to reach into a book and shake a character as much as I wanted to shake her. She's frustrating, naive, and yet you can't completely hate her because deep down, she's just a child who doesn't know better. The themes are powerful. Childhood innocence, the cost of lies, the impossibility of true forgiveness, and the healing or destructive power of storytelling. It's also a reflection on how class divides and societal expectations can twist relationships and ruin lives. Ian McEwan is known for his ability to dissect human emotions with surgical precision. If you've read On Chesil Beach, you'll see some parallels. His fascination with how small misunderstandings or unspoken words can lead to life-changing consequences. In Atonement, he takes that concept and magnifies it, weaving it into a multi-layered narrative that spans decades. So there you have it, a story of love, loss, guilt, and the power of imagination gone wrong. If you haven't read Atonement, I can't recommend it enough. Just be prepared to yell at Briony. A lot. What did you think of this story? Have you ever read a book where one character's mistake completely wrecked everything? Let me know in the comments. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in diving deeper into this book, I've left some links down in the description. You can use it to grab yourself a copy and keep the adventure going. And if you're in the mood for more great reads, don't go just yet. Click on one of the videos popping up right now that I think you'll love. And don't forget to give this review a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe if you'd like to see more. Every bit of support helps us grow this little community of book lovers. See you in the next one.